Hi guys, how you all doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to the channel. How are you? Yes, you sat there watching this. Welcome to the channel. And for today's gameplay, we're on Serene Coast in the IS, which is the tier 7 Russian heavy tank. A really decent tank this, I like it. It's got quite good penetration, and the damage output on it, when you hit somebody, boy, they know they've been hit by this thing. But that's the thing really, isn't it, with the Russian tanks, the heavies in particular. They are hard-hitting cannons, and they've got a good punch to them, that's for sure. So I run the 122mm cannon on the IS, which I quite like. It's not too bad actually. Alright, the accuracy's not the greatest in the world, but you know, it's not bad for a tier 7 vehicle. And the damage output on this thing, and that's what this vehicle's all about, is with a standard round you're getting up to 390, premium round 390, and with a high explosive anything up to 530, taking 530 hit points off of a tank effectively. The aim time on this tank isn't the greatest, in all fairness, 3.4 seconds aim time. But you know, this is a bruiser, it's a battler, it's a bruiser. It doesn't have the greatest of armour on the hull, but the turret armour is not too bad on it, I would say, not too bad at all. The accuracy on it is 0.46, so it's not the greatest. But you know, you've got to get up close and personal, and it's not particularly great at shooting at distance. You will miss a lot of shots from distance, but it's RNG, isn't it? If the tanking gods are in your favour, then you won't miss, and if they're not, then you will. Simple as that. You could be right next to it and you'll miss, and that's happened to me a few times in this tank. But I really like the playstyle with the IS. It kind of suits my playstyle. Does that make sense? I like tank destroyers, and I play a few lights and all that kind of stuff. But I really enjoy playing the IS because it just, I don't know, you kind of just feel at home with this tank, I guess. It's a little bit like when you play the KV2, and if you haven't got it, definitely get the KV2 because it's a fun tank to play. It really is. And I've done a previous kind of review of the KV2 with some gameplay footage if you want to have a browse through and have a look at that. But it's a little bit like the KV2 when you're having a really crap day of tanking and nothing seems to be going right for you. All your shots seem to be just either bouncing or missing, and you're not getting the penetration, and you take the KV2 out and you just have that one shot, just that one shot where you take that decent shot and it just lands on the button, and you either one shot the tank or you take off 99% of its health. And that's what this tank is for me. You get that one shot in and it just feels really good. Does that make sense? You know, like that shot there. It just feels really good and I love it. But it's like that old saying, isn't it? If the hand of Stalin is guiding your shot, you're not going to miss. You'll do very well. And that's what it's all about for me. Not that there's any bias towards Russian tanks at all in this in this game. Who would dare to say that? Me? No, not me, says he. And the overall stats with this tank aren't particularly great, in all fairness. But it can kind of hold its own on the battlefield when you get up to that the top cannon on it. You know, the 122mm cannon. That's if you manage to hit your target. But it's one of these tanks. It's just a fun tank to play. Alright, it's not something that it would be my go-to tank, definitely not. But it's a tank that you have fun in when your shots do actually land. So I emphasise do actually land there. And you will definitely see up to tier 9 battles in the IS. It kind of struggles in tier 8 and tier 9 battles, but in all fairness, I wouldn't say that I've played many tier 8, tier 9 battles. There are some, but the majority of the battles I get into is, you know, usually tier 7 ish. I get a few tier 8s, but the tier 9 matches are not as much, if that makes sense. And yes, in the higher tier matches it will struggle, and you've just got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you, and just accept the fact is that you are going to be put in the higher tiers at times, from time to time, and as Wargaming say, it's there to challenge you. Yeah, okay. We all know the true answer to that, don't we? But that all said and done, is this tank worth having and getting and grinding up to? Yeah, I think so. It is a fun tank, as I say, and I've had probably more better games than I have bad games in it. So yeah, I quite like this tank. I've got to be honest, I do like it. As I said, it's not my go-to tank that I would, choose above every other tank that I've got in the garage. But it's okay. It's a fun enough tank that if you're in the right match, it'll put a smile on your face. Not every time, but most of the time it will. And I've had some fairly decent matches in this tank, so I can't really grumble. You get into street matches, you're laughing. You'll do, especially if it's a tier 7 match. Your armour won't hold up very well, but it's all about the cannon, isn't it? The damage output, and that's what this tank is really about. It's not really about the armour, and albeit as a heavy tank you think you'd have a bit more armour than it's actually got. But as I say, it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? You just make the most of what you've got. That's what she said. So I'm slowly grinding away, working my way up to the IS-7. Stay there. Oh, nice shot. So I'm slowly working my way up to the IS-7. Just unlocked the IS-3. Managed to unlock the final gun on it after a bit of grinding. Boy, that's painful. That second gun before you get the top gun on the IS-3, that is painful. It really was. I was getting to the point where I was losing the will to live with it, but you just got to keep going, haven't you? But I got there eventually in the end, thankfully. And I wonder if the Russian shipyard builder Vasily Mendeleev, who originally designed, believe it or not, was super heavy tanks, and he worked on it privately, and he came up obviously on his lunch breaks as he was eating his food and drinking his vodka. He must have been sat down on one of these metal buckets or something, and with his pencil and piece of paper, and just drawn little sketches. Can you imagine that? And he came up with some amazing designs for super heavy tanks. I mean, this was in like 1911 to 1915. And he came up with this idea, this plan of a super heavy tank that weighed 170 tons and had a naval gun attached to it. Can you imagine that? I mean, it beggars beyond belief, doesn't it, that you can imagine something like that being put together, of some guy sat on a little metal bucket drinking his vodka and doing little drones and thinking, oh, I wonder whether this design will be useful to the Russian Federation at all. And little did he actually know that the design that he actually thought of at the time was used in many, many innovations of your modern day battle tanks. So that's like 1911. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have supercomputers or anything back then, or your mobile phones. All they had was vodka and a little bit of whale meat or something. But I guess all it takes is just that one bright idea, doesn't it? That little spark in the brain box. And as you look at people like Jeff Bezos, you know what I mean? A billionaire selling books from his garage. Just shows you a little bit of thought and a little bit of ingenuity can take you a long, long way if you let it. See, I don't have the innovation to think like that. I think of weird and wonderful things, like, the first person that must have been stood at the edge of a field and saw a cow in the middle of this field, and they must have looked at the udders of this thing and thought, that looks enticing, that looks tasty, I think I'll go and give that a bit of a squeeze and see what comes out of it. And they go over there and they give this udder a bit of a squeeze and some white liquid comes out. And at the time you must have been thinking to yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then they've tasted this thing and thought, oh, that tastes quite nice, I'll have some of that. I'll make a cup of tea with that. Do you see what I mean? And I think weird and wonderful things like that. So I don't think I'll ever be the next Jeff Bezos. I don't have that kind of imagination or inspiration. I have stupid things like cows in a field and somebody drinking milk for the first time. So we're down to the last two tanks, a Hellcat and an AMX. So I'm going to see if I can push into him and see if I can get one more shot in before they die. Do you think I can manage it? Do you think I can do it? No, perhaps not then, eh? Can I get a shot at you? No, I can't get a shot at you either. Anyway, onward to the end place. We won this one. A fairly decent game, not too bad at the end of the day. So let's see how we did. Made 55,000, not too bad. Anyway, guys, till the next one, take care. Bye-bye.